In this video, we're going to talk about elephants. You're looking at the largest land animals on the entire planet. But it's not just about size. These guys are so incredibly intelligent, they have specific calls that work just like names for each other. And they're so deeply empathetic, they've actually been seen mourning their dead, gently touching the bones of a lost family member. So let's get to know these incredible animals a little bit. Alright, first up, giants of the planet. To really get a handle on elephants, you've got to know their status around the world. You know, where do they live, and maybe more importantly, how many are actually left. So, let's get a quick basic out of the way. Elephants are, of course, mammals, the largest land-based ones on Earth, in fact. Now, you might have heard the old-school term pachyderm before, that used to lump them in with rhinos and hippos. But yeah, scientists don't really use that anymore. It's considered obsolete. So, the big question, how many are out there? Well, if we look at Africa, the total population is estimated to be around 415,000. Now, I know that sounds like a huge number, but you have to remember, that's way down from the millions that used to roam the continent. So this figure, it's a really critical baseline for understanding where they stand right now. And these populations aren't just spread out evenly. They're really concentrated in a few key spots. Just look at Botswana. It's the world's elephant capital, basically, with over 130,000 of them. That's massive. Zimbabwe and Tanzania have big populations too. And hey, see India on that list? That's super important because it's home to the biggest population of Asian elephants. And that's a perfect segue, because there are two main types. So how can you tell them apart? The easiest trick is to look at the ears. African elephants have these huge ears that are kind of shaped like, well, Africa. Pretty cool, right? Asian elephants have smaller, more rounded ears. Plus, African elephants are bigger overall, and both the males and females usually grow tusk. For Asian elephants, it's typically just the males. Okay, next up, let's trace an elephant's journey through life, all the way from a newborn calf to a wise old giant. An elephant's life is just epic. It all starts with a pregnancy that lasts 22 months. That is the longest of any mammal on the planet. But what's totally wild is that just 20 minutes after being born, a calf can stand on its own 2 feet. Insane. They can live for up to 70 years, and for the males, their peak reproductive years come pretty late in life, somewhere between 45 and 53. Now, let's dive into one of the most fascinating parts about elephants, their incredibly complex social lives, which are all about family, memory, and power. Elephant society? It's run by the ladies. It's a full-on matriarchy. The leader is the oldest and most experienced female, known as the matriarch. She's like the herd's living, breathing library of knowledge, using her amazing memory to guide her family, which is all her female relatives and their kids, to food and water. This is absolutely crucial during a harsh drought. The adult males, or bulls, they usually roam separately, either alone or in small bachelor groups. And speaking of the bulls, they go into this unique state called must. This isn't just a mating season, it's a period of intense hormonal changes where their testosterone levels just skyrocket, making them way more aggressive and sexually active. During must, a bull can even temporarily outrank larger males, giving them a huge advantage when it comes to finding a mate. So what does daily life actually look like for these giants? Let's get into what they eat, who they have to watch out for, and some of the surprising alliances they make. Well, being the largest animal on land requires a massive amount of fuel. Elephants are herbivores, and they aren't picky, eating everything from grasses and leaves to tree bark and fruit. To get enough calories, they can spend up to 18 hours a day just eating. Can you imagine? An adult can put away as much as 300 pounds of food in a single day. Talk about dedication. So that raises a pretty obvious question. When you're that big and that powerful, does anything actually mess with you? For a healthy adult, the answer is usually no. But the calves can be vulnerable. Predators like lions, hyenas, and even crocodiles will go after young or sick elephants if they can separate them from the herd. But the single biggest threat to all elephants, by far, is humans. Poaching for the illegal ivory trade has absolutely decimated their population. But it's not all conflict. Elephants also form some amazing partnerships. Oxpecker birds, for example, get a free meal by eating pests off an elephant's skin, and in return, they act as a living alarm system, screaming loudly if they spot any danger. And then you have baboons. Elephants dig these water holes that baboons can drink from, and the baboons act as lookouts from high up in the treetops. It's a win-win. Alright, to finish things off, let's do a quick round of 5 incredible facts that really show just how special these animals are. First, that incredible trunk. It's not just a long nose, it's a super finely tuned instrument with over 100,000 individual muscles that gives it the raw strength to uproot a tree, but also the delicate touch to pick up a single blade of grass. Here's a surprising one for you. For all their power, elephants are the only mammal on Earth that cannot jump. Their leg bones are all pointed straight down, which means they don't have the spring they'd need to launch themselves into the air. And this brings us right back to their emotional depth. Elephants display emotions that we often think of as being uniquely human. They grieve, they can cry actual tears, and they form these incredibly strong family bonds that last their entire lives. Just like people are left or right-handed, elephants can be left or right-tusked. They'll favor one tusk over the other for tough jobs like digging for roots or stripping bark off of trees. If you look closely, you can often see that one tusk is way more worn down than the other one. And finally, you know that old saying, an elephant never forgets? Well, it turns out to be true, and there's a scientific reason for it. Their temporal lobe, the part of the brain tied to memory, is actually larger and denser than ours. So, what's the big takeaway here? That elephants aren't just big animals. They are deeply intelligent, emotionally complex beings with these intricate social lives. And with their populations under constant threat from poaching and losing their homes, their future is, well, it's far from certain. It really makes you wonder, what role will we play in the next chapter of their story? Alrighty, that is it for this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.